Kaleigh Gilchrist.
Let's go.
Let's go. I'm so stoked to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on the Passion Project with me.
Of course.
So
I'm
fun.
stoked. I've been listening to this for a while now, and I'm honored to be on it.
Oh, well, it's my opportunity to talk to really cool people that do really cool things, or rad people that do rad things. And that, for 18,000 reasons, is you. So super, super stoked. And we were talking offline, but one of the things that I've built this podcast for people like me, that I want to know the backstory. So for context, Kaleigh, and we'll get deep into it, you are super accomplished in everything you do, and there's a lot. And if you happen to be in the surf world or in the water polo world at high levels, you will know Kaleigh. So really, really cool what you've done. We'll dig deep. But before I get in, I have a question for you.
Yes.
By chance, we ran into each other a week ago. Where were we?
We were at Turtle Bay on the North Shore of Oahu, but what are the odds? That's like one of the best things about traveling, is just running into people in the most bizarre places, and it was an honor to see you and just hear about your trip, and I shared about my trip. I was over there for my baby moon with my husband, and you were doing Camp Laird and crazy things, and we were able to catch up for coffee. So
what a cool surprise.
Yeah.
It's so fun these days. Like, I think you saw something on social. You're like, are you here? And I'm like, I am. Are you here?
Yeah, that's like, there's good and bad of social, but that's one of the best parts of social, just connecting with people around the world, no matter where you are.
Yeah. Well, and you've done a lot of that in your life of travel based on what you do. So by way of introduction, well, before that, you were there for your baby moon. So congratulations.
Thank
and you're
you.
like, what, 6 months now?
6 months, which is crazy. Tom and I were just talking about it, actually. We're just like, we're about to enter the most important chapter of our lives. Like, obviously it's going to be the most challenging, but also the most rewarding for the next, I would say 18 years.
Forever.
But forever. And we were just kind of tripping over that. Like, to come February, it's on. And we're just so excited to welcome our baby girl in. And we're really looking forward to, parenthood.
Well, it is a departure from the life you've been living, but it's such a rad one. But it never stops. I mean, don't be fooled. So,
Yeah.
I've got a 23-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And I don't know if Randy, my wife, spends more time on the phone with the older ones or chasing the young. Like, it never ends.
Totally.
So
My parents remind me of that all the time.
So how excited are they?
They're so excited. My sister has 2, and she's expecting. We're actually 12 days apart.
Come
so
on.
there's just going to be chaos in the family, but they love being grandparents. And, my sister's kids are just amazing. And it made our decision that much easier, seeing how she's become a parent and what she's done and her husband have done. So it's going to be really fun.
Good for you guys. And having them grow up together that's pretty special. So
yeah,
good for you guys.
They're going to be thicker than thieves.
Yeah, for sure. Super rad. I was going to ask you about your folks, but we'll get there in just a minute. When you were in Hawaii, you were getting some surf?
I wasn't. We surfed Waikiki. I made my husband come out and surf Waikiki. And then we were on the North Shore, and it was the first swell of the year. And there's a couple spots kind of pumping, like Rockies looked really fun. Just basically the whole North Shore the last day looked really fun. But I was like, you know what? I don't need to push it. Go paddle out at 6-foot Rockies, 6 months pregnant. So I was staying to pool bars at Turtle Bay, just surfing that right, and had a couple sessions out there that were so fun.
Oh, that's so great. So, okay. So that leads us in. So we'll talk a lot about surfing in a minute, but what did you do today?
Today, I made a challenge for myself to surf 30 straight days, and I was on day 6, so I just ran out front on the wave storm. The rules are you have to surf for 30 minutes or catch 3 waves to make it a session. And there's like a bunch of reasons why I decided to do that, but one being that I just don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to surf. And then especially when baby comes, my time's going to be devoted to her. So I wanted to surf, and I'm still on a shortboard, and then just to give myself a challenge. Like, I haven't been doing too much since Paris Olympics was over a year ago. So I was like, let's just make a commitment and a challenge and just do it. So I've, realized every surfer, every waterman knows that you feel better when you're in the water than out of it. So I've just kind of, even the past 6 days, have noticed just how much more kind of alive in a way that I felt. And I feel like it's also a way to connect with my baby and just get her in the water, and hopefully, she'll come out and already be ready to get in the water.
Come on. Your daughter, how could she not be a superhuman waterman at probably within the first couple of years?
Well, you don't know my husband too well, and he is far from a waterman. So that might be the reason why.
That's a conversation for later. I think we'll get to it, but your social media feed is super, super funny. And again, we're just about there, but based on your accomplishments in sport, you're also super friggin' funny, and your social feed is hysterical. It's like you're all memed out. Your husband's the butt of some. He's in on it with you. It's
He
so
totally
funny.
is. He loves it. He low-key loves it. He'll act like he hates it, but poor guy, yeah, he's usually the butt of many jokes on that social media, but he's a trooper and loves it.
That's
So it's
super
been
awesome.
fun.
There's one in particular, just because it was funny and relevant to this, but it was the one where it shows you, like, you do a video and it's your trip. What are you doing on your trip? You're surfing. And his trip, what's he doing?
He's going down like literally the kid slide. Like I think he was the oldest one there by 30 years, going down the kid slide at the pool.
I love Tom already. Perfect. Well, listen, so you've already dropped it in there. You mentioned a lot of surf and you mentioned Paris Olympics.
Yes.
So for anybody that hasn't figured it out, let's talk about who's in the room. Just quick intro. So 3-time Olympian, 2 gold medals. Where are they? You didn't bring them? Come on.
I didn't bring them. They're sitting in my sock drawer.
Rightly so. And then, so that's on the polo side. Then there's expansive accomplishments, collegiately, NCAA champion. And then you go back and that's champion. Like I was looking at your kind of brag sheet. The number of gold medals next to your name over like a 15-year period is stunning. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But that's one sport. At the same time, you've got similar accomplishments in surf. So pro surfer on the World Qualifying Series, some big accomplishments there, both pro, collegiate, pre-collegiate. Like, dude, incredible.
Thank you.
It's so fun. So when we're talking about your daughter that's coming, I think she's going to be born with gills.
Yes, I hope so.
And big feet so she can surf really well. It's really an incredible story of all the things you've done. How fun. I mean, it's got to be when you're talking about this 30-day challenge and you're pregnant. My wife had really tough pregnancies. She could barely get off the couch at 6 months. It just wrecked her. So the fact that you can get out and surf every day for 30 days. What day is today? Day 6?
Yeah. So I still have a ways to go.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
But you're surfing every day so far.
I do know that everyone's pregnancies are different too. And it's just like, I know I feel okay. So let's take advantage of it because that could change instantly. Like the woman's body is incredible. In my first trimester, I was like your wife on the couch, just did nothing. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of in this like golden hour right now. Let's take advantage of it because who knows when it's going to shut down. And I feel for the people that feel the pregnancy all the way through because it's wild. I
can't imagine. I've said it 10,000 times on here, but I am so far from being strong enough or tough enough to be a woman. Like I just I couldn't survive it. I think I saw on one of your social posts some time ago that you were curious about surfing while pregnant and you reached out to a couple friends. Who did you reach out to?
Yeah, I'm fortunate to have these relationships with amazing women and amazing athletes. So weirdly enough, Joanna Defay, CT, Chris Amore, gold medalist, world champ, Sage Erickson, who has on the CT for years. I was able to reach out to all 3 of them, and they are either pregnant or 2 of them already had their babies. And just to be able to pick their brains is just so cool. And I've had great relationships with all of them. At some point, we've connected or competed, or Sage and I were roommates 20 years ago on the USA Surf team, and it's been a lot of fun. And to hear from them, it's just a reminder that everyone's different. We had some of the girls say, I was done at 18 weeks. Like I didn't feel it, my body didn't feel right, so baby was number one priority. And then you have Carissa who's surfing a week before giving birth.
No way.
So it's just, I have to figure out and, listen to my body and see where I land. But it's so amazing to be able to pick the brains of the best of the best.
Yeah. And it also talks to the diversity of your sport because I think Joanne Defay is French. Carissa is Hawaiian. I think 4-time world champion? Something like that. 5-time?
5, yeah.
And gold medal.
Yep.
And then Sage is from here also. Like what a cool cross section of people that you can call friends and call them up.
Totally. And it's actually just a reminder of what motherhood does in the community. Like, obviously, I'm not a mother yet, but we've just have been supporting each other throughout this journey. And I feel like those relationships, I've obviously had those relationships for years and years, but there wasn't necessarily reasons to reach out or chit chat, like unless I'm, supporting them through a contest or something like that. And even them finding out I was pregnant, just the support I've felt from them and many others, but just the support, it's like, wow, this really is coolest community just of motherhood. So I know that our probably relationship and bonds will even grow through this next chapter of life.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's really fun to watch like the pro surfers and pro athletes when they go into like that next chapter. I had Christina Zur and Rami Zur in here. She's 2-time gold, Hungarian, but lives here,
Yeah.
and she paddles out at NAC, and she timed her 2 boys between gold medals. Like they
Crazy.
planned it down to, and I watched her come back from getting pregnant to all the way through the pregnancy, giving birth, and then coming back and watching her fitness routine to get back to win a gold postpartum. Like
That's
it's
wild.
amazing to watch. And I
Yes.
would imagine with your skill set and your history of training at the level that you always have, like you know your body as well as anybody probably could.
Yes,
right?
for sure.
To feel your way through this process, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I applaud those people. I mean, of course, I think about it every day. I was like, should I come back for LA after a
I don't know,
kid?
should
Like,
you?
Should I? I don't know. But watching, the women do what they do and seeing women come back, and compete, not even like at the highest possible level and win Olympic medals, it's wild. And then also my age, like we were talking about, everyone's kind of going through this next chapter. So it is a little nostalgic. Like I'm seeing all these retirement posts and these Instagram posts and social media and pregnancy. I was like, wow, we're really at that next stage, but we're kind of all doing it together in a way.
Super rad. I mean, I say it all the time. Like the other thing about having kids that you'll find out is time moves really fast. The days might be slow, the nights might be super long, but the years are fast. And I always say that I gauge my age by my friends' kids' age. So all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, George is 27. And I'm like, hold on, what?
How'd that happen?
What does that mean for me?
Yeah.
And then I quote my mom. My mom always say like, it's really weird. In my head, I'm 21. And then I look in the mirror. And I can tell you that firsthand that has happened to me full force. Like you're like, whoa, how did this happen?
Yeah.
It's all part of the process, right?
It is.
And that's why we keep training to stay as young as we possibly
Exactly.
can, right? Well, listen, super cool. Thanks for sharing all that. I'd like to go in the Wayback Machine a little bit. We talked about parenting. Well, that's going to make your parents grandparents yet again. Your sister has 2 and 1 on the way. We're sitting here at the Newport-Costa Mesa border. I always say this, like, you didn't grow up too far from here.
I didn't.
Let's talk about where you grew up and like your folks and what life was like and what brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate. I grew up on the Peninsula and I'm still there today. Newport Elementary, Ensign, Newport Harbor High School, then to USC. So kind of did all of them. And
hold on. If we look out that window, can you see the tower at Newport Harbor High School? You almost can.
Almost can. Yeah, like
that's
you could,
how close you are.
My husband would like to say he could probably hit a golf ball there, but he couldn't.
But this zone, I mean, we're probably 3 miles from where you grew up.
Yeah.
I haven't gone far.
No.
The schools are all right here. Newport Elementary comes up because that's the best school in America because it's on the sand
killer.
down at the beach.
Yeah.
And where you live, it's probably a 3/4 of a mile bike ride.
Yeah.
Probably down the boardwalk, right?
I biked every day to school, every day to junior lifeguards, and just totally became a beach baby, which is actually pretty interesting. My father's from Canada, a tiny little town in northern British Columbia that barely even exists anymore. Wow. And then my mom's from the East Coast. She moved over here when she was, I think, 13, 14 years old. So she was based in Fountain Valley. And then my dad actually swam in 2 Olympic Games for Team Canada. My uncle did as well, and then got recruited to USC. So that's how he made his way down south to Orange County and just never left. But yeah, so obviously my dad was always competitive and, he's an athlete, but he never really pushed that on me. And I was just basically a tomboy. Like I grew up hanging with all the boys. We had such a tight-knit group, and I just wanted to do what they did. So whether that was surfing, whether that was water polo, flag football.
But no brothers, right?
No brothers.
This is just friends.
This is just friends, little Peninsula crew. And that we'd bike to school with, and we'd play flag football at recess. Then our parents were friends, so they'd sign us up for whatever sport it was that week. And that's kind of when my competitiveness grew. And I just realized, like, not only do I want to keep up with the boys, I want to be better than the boys. And it was really fun. And I always think, like, I'm 33 now, and I think I was probably one of the last generations to grow up without technology.
I was going to ask that question because what you rode your bike down the beach. There wasn't e-bikes.
No.
You rode your bikes. We would ride everywhere. You didn't have phones.
No.
You were just doing kind of like how I grew up. Like it really didn't change until a few years after you.
Yeah, like high school, I think there was like Facebook, college, Instagram came about, but it's not what it is today. Phones aren't what they were or what they are now. And it was basically like be home before the street lights.
Yeah.
And then when it was dark, we were allowed to play in the alley, and my mom would hear us through the house, whether it was like our skateboards or us shooting basketballs into the house, on the backyard rim. So I think I'm forever fortunate. And the more like you reflect, and now that I've had time, I just see how like important and integral that part of my life was to who I am today. And, sometimes we were little troublemakers too. Like there was a group that my house was a little bit of where you'd meet up because I was right by the beach, right over there on the peninsula, and everyone would come to my house. They'd leave the boards there. You would see all the skateboards and
so fun.
The bikes in front, and my dad would take us to after surf to what used to be Carl's Jr. and then drop us off at Ensign or take us down to Mexico. My mom would drive us to Mammoth, and we also got into some trouble as like any 14-year-old group of boys and girls would by throwing water balloons at car, like little things, nothing crazy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But we just experienced a fun childhood. And I think I didn't realize that until later on when you're a part of a team and you're a part of, you kind of bring all these backgrounds together to, you want to come together to reach a goal, and you learn more about other people's upbringings and backgrounds and lifestyles. And it was like, wow, I did it a lot different than a lot of the girls. And it's something that I'm fortunate that I had.
Rad. Well, we'll get there in a second. Let me ask you this. So one of the things that's magic about living where we live is a lot of people, and probably you're seeing this right now, a lot of us either went away to college and came back. Some people come back once they get married. Some people come back later in life, and some people never leave because it's such a magnet. Especially if you grew up surfing, it's hard to go live in Texas if you grew up surfing and living at the beach. So I was super limited where I was willing to go to college because all I was doing was surfing at the time.
Right.
Of that crew you're talking about, the 14-year-old, you're hanging with the boys, you want to be better than them. How many of those people are still friends of yours, like close friends of yours today? Any of them?
Yeah, I mean, all of them. Like, I would say I see all of them regularly, and then there's probably 4 or 5 that are like my best friends that I text.
Who would
weekly.
Some of these be? Is it
Jared Cassidy, Victor Doan, Max Colvin, and then the troublemakers we were like Addie Giddings, Cam Clark, Pat Woodings, and it's so great. Like, I was in the water with Addie the other day, and we'll talk about it every once in a while, but it's just like we laugh and just loved our childhood. And it was either like we were at the Gilchrist house or we were at the Giddings house. And we just had so much fun. But I get to see them all the time. Everyone's back here now.
And a bunch of those guys are absolute ripping surfers, right?
Yes, they rip. I mean, it's funny to see.
You'll see them all over social media.
Yeah.
If you're seeing local good surf, those guys are the ones that you're going to see.
Totally. I usually say when Tyler and Addie paddle out at 56, it's my time to go in because I'm not getting a wave.
Well, you're hanging in good company and you all progress together, which is great. I'm guessing you all pushed each other, right?
For sure. And there was a group of us that did NSSA and, pushed us on the competitive side, but we also had Newport Harbor High School surf team, which was so fun. And that's kind of where we all connected, and I think they do such a good job over that program. And our goal was always to beat San Clemente, win states, beat San Clemente. And there was a couple of years we did that, and just the camaraderie we had, it was just a lot of fun in those 14 through 18 years. Right.
Well, one of the fun ones, and I always say this, especially with people like you, I've known of you for a super long time, not just from the Olympics and from surfing, but just being a local ripping kid. Because one of the names you said, Jared Cassidy, his mom is my best friend in the whole world since I was a little kid. Jeff Netzer's sister. Yep. I grew up in their house. I've known Jared's mom, Wendy, since I was a little kid. So small town.
Totally.
I've known Jared since he was born. Just
so great. Rad. And he's such a stand-up guy. Like Jared is one of my closest friends.
It's a great family right there. But that's kind of if you don't know Newport, and especially if you see it on TV, you're thinking one way about it. This is the Newport that we know.
Yes.
Small town, surf town. Yes, there's all the other stuff that you can see on TV. You can find that anywhere. But you're talking about the core roots of what this town is all about. It's a beach, surf, bay, water town.
And then you think of the Peninsula too. The Peninsula was like the last thing to get kind of a facelift or upgrade of all of Newport. So it was very much so of, the haves, the beachfront beautiful homes, and the have-nots. And I kind of landed somewhere in the middle there, but there's a lot of people that didn't have what you would expect people to have saying they're from Newport Beach. So I think there was a lot of lessons learned during that too. It wasn't that we were just born on third base. There was a lot of hard work and grit, and you had to see your parents work hard as well. So I also think when I'm kind of reflecting on the childhood that's part of, the grit that I learned.
Well, I think you just really nailed it, because I'm always challenged by people go, oh, you live in Newport, you can see it. That, you just nailed it. That is really, it is maybe not first base, but there's plenty of second base and third base and everything in between in this community. It's not all, again, what is portrayed on TV and blah, 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 blah. There's definitely some of that, but that's not the foundation of this community.
No, exactly.
Okay. You talked about grit. You said it, your dad was 2-time Olympic for Canada and your uncle was.
Yes.
swimmers? Is that what?
Yeah, Olympic swimmers, which is ironic. I was one of the slowest on the water polo team.
is that
but
right?
that was just me being, my dad would want to give me some pointers when I was young, doing swim team and whatnot. And of course, I was his child, so I'm not going to listen to him. And then in hindsight, I'm like, ooh, I really should have listened to him. He was right all along. But yeah, it was really fun, just especially through my journey. And I think the further I got, obviously in high school or even before high school, it was bragging. Like my dad and uncle are 2-time Olympians. Like that's just cool. I didn't really understand what it meant to me. And then you go to USC and you kind of are around like all the aquatic center, and USC does a really good job teaching its aquatic history or even sports history in general. And I'm like walking around the pool, I'm like, oh my gosh, my dad's name's right there. He was a captain and a national champion, and same as my uncle. And there's these benches behind a pool we call the dungeon where we have morning workouts, and it's just like the coolest pool. It's just old school, and it's where my dad used to swim. And there's 2 benches, and I'm like, a freshman, and I grew up going to USC, so I knew the benches were there, and my dad would take us to football games and stuff, and I had all my USC swag. But you're walking on campus, and you're just sitting on the bench, and it's the plaque of your dad, and the bench right next to it, plaque of your uncle, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is cool. And then take it to the next level of going to the Olympics, and then you hear, my dad starts sharing more stories of his Olympic journey, and my uncle shares some of his, and then you see some old, like shirts and sweatshirts and Olympic gear that they had, and I just think that was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy and so cool that we get to do this together, and having their support has been, so cool to kind of follow in their footsteps and continue the Gilchrist legacy, so to say.
So good. Did either of them medal?
No, so I guess this is tough to say now because I ended up getting 4th in the Olympics in Paris. But my dad got a couple 4s, which is, heartbreakers. You're especially in swim, like
it's milliseconds.
Yeah, I mean, I think then there was probably a little bit bigger, maybe, but still 1 second difference of touching to get a bronze medal. And I remember when we won in Rio, I finally had my medal around my neck, and we go up to my dad, or you get to finally see family members, and like those hugs were the most killer hugs of my life. And then I was like, Dad, this is what a effing gold medal looks like, and just gave him some crap, and he just laughed because that's just how our relationship is. But and then he hasn't brought it up yet, but I know he's just waiting to say, now how does 4th feel like?
He's saving it for a rainy day.
Totally.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. What a cool experience. We'll get back more into the Olympics, but what a cool, like the legacy. And we'll talk about college in a second, but to go to SC and see your family, your dad and your uncle on there, like that's got to be pretty friggin' cool.
It's super cool. Really, and I think it motivated and inspired me more than I knew at that moment. It's funny, like I love water polo for so many reasons, but it's a really humble community. So I didn't really talk about it too much just because it wasn't like, you just don't talk about that stuff. And we had other teammates that their dads played water polo in the Olympics. But I would always hold on to it and like keep it close to my chest. And it would be definitely a reason and motivation for me to keep doing what I'm doing and to try to make these Olympic teams, obviously to honor so many people in my life, but definitely honor that and that legacy.
It's so cool. So you touched on, we talked surf, and we now know where we're going, obviously with water polo, but how did polo start?
It started with the same group of guys I told you, that Newport Beach crew that we went to Newport L, we biked to junior lifeguards, and one of my closest friends, his sister played, a little older, so it was just like they play water polo, and asked my mom, you want to sign Kaleigh up for water polo? And it was like, okay, sure. So 8 years old, I walk on the Newport Harbor pool deck, and kind of that was the beginning. And I didn't really stop till last year, so 24 years of playing the sport. And I think I enjoyed it more than swimming. Swimming's boring, staring at the black line, and I just liked the team aspect, and it was just something that I kind of gravitated towards. And my parents never pushed me in any sport. And I think that was something that I want to continue on, obviously, if my children like sport, but just doing everything. Now it's so specialized, and it's intense, and I see it, and obviously there's success to that, and you see the success stories, but I played every sport and played it for as long as I could. I loved basketball first. That was my first dream, and I managed to play it all the way to 8th grade, but knew I had to make a decision going into Newport Harbor. So, yeah, I just started playing at 8 years old and played for 24 years, essentially.
So, one, you just touched on how you foresee bringing up your kids and not forcing them into one. I won't even beleaguer it because it comes up all the time in here, but every professional athlete or professional coach, somebody that's come out of sport, have such a different approach to sports than a lot of the parents that you run into on the pool deck or on the sidelines that are super loud, super obnoxious,
Totally.
or even in surf. How many kids did I watch grow up with their dads forcing them to surf every single morning? They're crying on the beach. They don't want to be there. It's so healthy to hear when people are like, no, they're going to be multi-sport. I'm going to let them do whatever they want until they get to an age that they can make a decision. They really want to pursue it and then go.
Yeah.
But
and I would argue like, I mean, we'll probably go down water polo a little bit more, but for me,
yes, we will.
Yeah, for me and me as a water polo player, like I was never the fastest, the strongest, or any of that. Like my physical abilities was my weakness. Like I didn't move well in the water, but what my strengths were is that I saw the game really well. I was a good passer. I had great vision, and then my demeanor, you know, is usually pretty calm in big moments. But I would go back and attribute that all those things came from playing different sports. Like you kind of give the same angles of a pass of a basketball or being a quarterback of flag football. Like you understand timing and passing and not even playing, but also watching sports. Like I would watch sports, you know, just diehard Lakers fan. Like could tell you where I was sitting when Robert Horry shot the 3-pointer and made it to push them into the finals and little things like that. So I think the idea of playing is important, but it does give you like background of understanding sports in general. And then you learn, you know, you could even dive into the mindset of athletes too, which is something I dove into later on in my career.
Rad. I love that. It does. Everything you're talking about dovetails because I know where the story goes. It sounds very aligned with where you are today and how you got here. So we're talking about playing at 8 years old and you're surfing around the same time. And then you picked polo over basketball and over football, but you didn't throw surfing out. How were you able to, at that age, start doing both? Was it just fun or did you start already, like what was the path forward with both?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I started surfing probably I was 8, maybe 9 years old. It was, you know, my mom just wanted me to get out of the house. I was too young to do junior lifeguard. So I remember I learned, and I wasn't obsessed with it, but it wasn't until that same group of boys picked up their surfboards over a Christmas break and said, let's go surf. And I was like, well, if they're going surfing, I have to go surfing. And then we just kind of continued to surf and improve. And it wasn't until I was about 12 or 13 years old where I realized like, oh, I'm pretty good. Like there's not a lot of girls doing this and I'm pretty good and I love it. And I think the reason why I didn't choose just one sport in high school was because I loved them. And like the actual joy I had surfing and the joy I had playing water polo made it so hard that I was like, no, there's a way I can do both. There is a way and I'm going to figure it out. And people would always tell me, you know, Coach Bill Barnett was my high school coach and he's a legend for many reasons. Luckily, I got him at his tail end of his career, so I think he was a little more soft. But he, like, people like, Coach B's not going to allow that. You're going to have to pick one sport. And I just think I had the confidence to go up to talk to him and just be like, have a mature conversation. It was like, hey, I love these. Can we figure out a deal? And luckily he realized and saw the love that I had for the sport that he's like, okay, you can miss off-season mornings to go to surf team. And it just worked out that way. And as I continued to progress, there was obviously more sacrifices that had to be made, but I was able to balance both throughout basically my entire life.
That's amazing. And my suspicion is there's a certain point where an athlete has a little bit more leverage against the coach. Like the coach is like, I either say okay that she can surf and play, or I'm going to lose her altogether, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were so many moments in my career that I was over water polo. Like surfing is what I wanted to do. I tried to quit during Hell Week at Newport Harbor and didn't. And this was when didn't even have a license yet. I was a freshman, so I was 14 years old on varsity. And my poor parents.
So hold on, 14 years old, starting high school, already on varsity.
Yes.
Okay, so you had the skill set out of the gate.
Yes, like I was definitely, I'm not gonna lie, like I was definitely talented, but there's just a whole nother level when you get, you know, on the national team and whatnot. But there was a couple of us on varsity, and I would make my parents drop me off at the beach or bike to the beach at 6 a.m. to surf, get picked up, go to water polo, or go to school, go to water polo, and have the board in the car ready to go so I could get 30 minutes of surf before, you know, nightfall. And that was my every day. And then fortunately surf team, you had first period, but it was every day. Like I would just do double days. And I would be the one that's angry if they missed a good session. And it got to the point where my parents, you know, they've always been super supportive, but like call mom, be like, hey mom, Tom Kozad's shooting. The waves are really good. Can you call me out of school and come pick me up? And she'd be like, okay, yeah, like understood that getting photos was important in your surf career. And Kozad has been such a good mentor of mine. Like he literally has been the best. He was at my wedding. He was the reason I got my first sponsor.
Wow.
And I would just, ditch school and go surf because that was my only time I could do it because water polo practice was in 2 or 3 hours. So obviously supportive parents in that. And then also I think just me being stubborn, but also confident in wanting to become a world champion in both water polo and surfing.
Was that the goal?
Yeah, that was cool. Like you look back, the Olympics and surfing wasn't a thing yet. So if you look back, I do goals every year. Like I still have my 2025 goals. Number one was to become a parent. So that's pretty cool.
Rad.
But I have goals all the way till 2006 or 7 somewhere on a hard drive. And when you look back, that was a dream. Win a CT, and the Olympics kind of came and went depending on how my surf career was. So
CT is the championship
tour
WSL.
for surfing.
Yep.
So that was always a priority. But for water polo, there's something, I think when I was 12 years old, it says I want to be an Olympic medalist or go to the Olympics. And then that dream kind of went by the wayside because my surf career started taking off. I was like, dude, surfing's way more fun than water polo. Why do I want to do water polo? And it wasn't only until basically halfway through college that Olympic dream kind of came back into the picture because I realized, oh, this is a possibility. Like this could happen. And I started getting recruited on the national team a little bit. So for about 10 years there, that goal was gone. And then kind of came back into the picture more and more so. And my road to the national team was very unique. And I think that's why I was the player I was. But they have a pipeline. The U.S. Water Polo has a pipeline, the Olympic Development Program. And that's where you start basically when you're 14 years old, all the way to the national team, which is, the senior women's national team, which is the Olympic team. And I remember my Coach Bill Barnett's like, you should go try out. I was 14. I went one weekend, and I remember like swimming. It wasn't that fun, and the waves were pumping. And I missed a good session. And I go to my mom, I'm done. I never want to do that again. And so I never did any of the national team. And I would probably say maybe 2 or 3 out of my 36 teammates on the senior national team went through that pipeline. And it's a great pipeline. It gets you recognition. It teaches you the system. It allows you to travel to see opponents and get familiar with them. Like it's an amazing program, and no wonder so many people come from it. But I wasn't ready to give up surfing yet. And it wasn't until Adam Krikorian, the head coach of the national team, calls me in or sends me an email junior year, was inviting me to a training camp, was like, oh, wow, I think I want to do this.
Wow. What a path. I had someone you know very well, Maddie Musselman-Wepsy in here, and she took the other path.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't a surfer she went through the national team, and I was dumbfounded by what she told me, which is, at 14, she's playing at the national team level against women or with women that have been on the team for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I just, in my head, I was like, at 14, playing against professional athletes, like, you guys must have been so talented and so capable. And I know you learn a lot through the process, and I'm sure they mentor you and bring you along. But still, I think I told her, I'm like, at 14, I couldn't even make myself a sandwich.
No, it was crazy. I mean, her maturity, too, is insane. So, but for her, and this is just an example, we've had not just her, but a handful of others that homeschooled their senior year because their goal was to make the Olympic team. And there was 17, 18, 19-year-olds on the Olympic team. But they took that. They made so many sacrifices to do what they did and to get to where they wanted to do. Like, in a way, my career on the national team didn't start till later on. My first Olympics was 24, not 17. So I was, in a way, able to have that high school and college lifestyle that a lot of people didn't get to have. Yeah. So I was a little bit spoiled, had the best of both worlds.
Yeah. I mean, it's really incredible that you were able to pull it. And I mean, when you're talking about two-a-dayers every day at 13 years old, 14 years old or whatever, and on in high school, that's really an incredible load. And you're ditching school sometimes when the waves are good, which means you had to keep grades up somehow. So you're juggling, did you sleep? Or did you just grind through and you really got good at prioritizing? Or
I mean, what I learned during high school the most is just time management and prioritizing. And I actually had a math class with my sister, and she would laugh at me because I would get the homework maybe 30 minutes before the bell. and I would be doing the next day's homework in class while everyone's chit-chatting or like there was downtime. Like I'd be grinding trigonometry to just finish it. So it was one less thing I had to do so I could focus on the water polo and surf aspect. So I was a little bit crazy at multitasking.
Has that skill served you well through life?
Yes, very much so, except for now retiring. I realized that I don't need to juggle so many things. And it's been, this whole year has been a really important, I don't want to, maybe healing, growing, just reprioritizing what matters and slowing down has been the biggest thing.
I can imagine. We'll definitely talk about that because there's a big distinction of post-athletic, especially at the levels that you're talking about, like it's a pivot for sure. So I'm super curious to see how that goes. Okay, so let's talk real quickly. High school career, surf and polo, competing in both. You had some pretty banger years. Talk about like during those years of competition on both sides, like what kind of performances you were experiencing.
Yeah, so for high school water polo, the biggest thing is CIF. And there's other people that would argue club is more important, and that's where Junior Olympics comes along. But Coach Barnett was really emphasized the idea that we stick together the whole year. So you don't go off to these elite clubs to train and practice where they bring in people from all different high schools. The Newport Club is the Newport High School. And Ross Sinclair, who's done an amazing job over there as head coach, has kind of continued that tradition. So we maybe get 4th, 5th, 6th in JOs, which is still amazing. Like we're talking 4th or 5th or 6th in the entire nation in Junior Olympics. Like that's something to be proud of. But we were just a high school team. So what really we emphasized was CIF, which was high school championships. And I had some heartbreakers, but I also got one win, and it was my sophomore year versus CDM. Back Bay rivals, battled the Bay, and I just remember, it's crazy how you can remember these things, but that was such an important win for me because it was the first time I won something big, and the team won something big, and just that euphoric feeling and having everyone jump in the water, but the game was nuts. We were down by 1, 30 seconds left. I shot and scored to tie us. We go into overtime, which is like I don't even remember then, like 4-minute, 3-minute periods, and we end up winning in overtime. So it was just craziness.
Against whom?
CDM.
My alma mater.
Yes. Which is it's so fun. And so we got one championship there. And then on surfing, my surf career really took off, my amateur career, and that's when I was getting recognized and recruited by the USA Surf Team. So that is really my first taste of representing my country. And I think it was the very beginning of installing how important and what an honor it was to wear USA in the red, white, and blue. And I traveled to, ISA World Juniors was probably the biggest at that time, and I got to go to 4 ISA World Junior Championships and finish top 10 in the world my senior year. And then under 18 championships, they're hosted at Lowers to this day. That was probably the most prestigious title for amateurs. And I went back-to-back junior, senior year. And I was probably like, I'm talking like I'm competing against Sage Erickson, who's a CT winner, Courtney Conlock, who's been runner-up in the world multiple times, Lakey Peterson, all these people that I look up to and they're great friends. But I was a little bit of an underdog. So to be able to beat them in the biggest stage was, obviously a very big highlight of my surfing career.
Huge, while you're competing at the national team level. Like, it's multi-sport. There's not many people, I think, out there that can claim multi-sport at that level at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And
it didn't even cross my mind then. It was just what I did. Like, it worked out. Schedules seemed to always work out in my favor. Like, I didn't have to miss too much. And, so the support and the family were willing to make it happen.
I think the time management really speaks volumes of how you can train at that level. Water polo is an incredibly intensive training protocol year-round. You're at swim, polo, 2-a-days typically, and you're doing 2 days plus swim unless Coach B gave you
He actually did. That's why I'm such a bad swimmer, too.
Well, here's a funny story about your bad swimmer. I actually told you this earlier. I was with my buddy last night, and he asked me who I was interviewing next, and I said it was you. And he goes, oh, here's my experience. I was swimming at the Bay Club in the pool, and all of a sudden there's this missile lapping me. He's like, and it was you. It was Kaleigh. And he's like, that was my experience. So slow at the world stage is still faster than 99.9% of the population.
I needed to hear that story.
Yes, for sure. He's like, he referred to you as a missile.
That's funny.
And he had to get out of the water.
You should tell my old coach that.
Well, you have 2 gold medals. I think that counts.
Yes.
I think that gives you all the cred you need. Okay, so you have this incredibly successful campaign, both on the surf and the polo side in high school. We've already kind of foreshadowed USC comes in. Was USC always the plan, or was it really a decision based on recruitment via polo?
Yeah, so I was really fortunate that I grew up a USC Trojan, and that they had one of the best water polo programs in the world. You know, they finished top 3 every single year. But they were late to recruit me. So UCLA did a better job of recruiting me. Like, I was getting letters early on. USC, it's because I wasn't a part of the pipeline. Like, USC grabbed from that Olympic development pipeline that I was telling you about. So I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to go to UCLA? Like, I remember.
It's like blasphemy, right?
Yeah, I was like, what's happening? I remember, I think I said it in some article, and my dad's friends just the next morning just sent him, like, what is Kaleigh doing? She can't go there. And then eventually, early on my senior year, Jovan finally gives me a call, who was the head coach at USC at the time. And as soon as I got that call, I was like, game over. Like, yeah, I'm going to SC, which was another very special moment that I shared with my uncle and my dad, and just going to USC. But the program there with Jovan as the head coach, it's extreme. It's no joke. And my freshman year, I was rattled. Like, I was like, what am I doing? I'm in my dorm room. I'm watching Sage and Lakey winning QSs, you know, making money. Like, obviously the QS lifestyle isn't as lavish as people think.
So QS is the qualifying series.
This is the step you take to get to the championship tour for the World Surf League. But I'm watching them win contests. They have sponsorships. I'm stuck in my dorm room getting yelled at because my coach didn't really see or know much about me because I wasn't in that pipeline program. And then on top of all that, the NCAA comes after me because I have sponsorships.
Professional surfing. Oh.
Yes. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I missed the day and age, like, where people are just making bucks, you know, competing in college. But so now I have compliance chirping in my ear. I have to go to meetings. My parents have to get involved. Basically, I had to get stripped of all my surf sponsorships. Like, they couldn't promote me. So, you know, at that time I was sponsored by O'Neill, a handful of others. And they're like, if we have to take you down from the website and we can't promote you, like, it's going to be tough to support you in surfing. And we kind of worked a way out to still get some gear and whatnot. And I still kept a sticker on my board, even though I wasn't supposed to.
Wow.
But my punishment was I had to sit our first tournament of the year, which was at Stanford. It's kind of when you see all the college teams for the first time. And I was the video girl. So I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I think I need to write Jovan an email. Like, I think I'm done. Like, let's go on tour. Let's put, you know, college on the back burner. I'll come back and get my degree at some point. So I wrote an email to my parents. I said, can I send this? Like, I'm done. And then, of course, I get some phone calls and, like, just try to stick it out, like, 1 year. Just do 1 year and we'll reevaluate after freshman year. I said, fine, 1 year, but I get to move into the sorority house instead of live in the dorms. They're like, fine, deal. And that 1 year turned into 4. I lived in the sorority house all 4 years.
Did you really?
Hid it from my coaches because it was frowned upon to be a part of a sorority. Hid it from probably some of my teammates for a while too. And, you know, obviously slowly but surely that freshman year, I started getting some playing time. I was never a starter, but I ended up working my way up in the second rotation, went to NCAAs, got a taste of it. And all I needed was a taste. And then I was like, okay, what's 3 more years? The QS can wait.
Wow. How do you feel about that decision now? Would you have changed anything?
No, I mean, I think it was like an epiphany moment when I'm on the podium in Rio, and I'm just like, I almost threw this away. Not once, not twice, but 3 or 4 separate times I tried to quit in different stages of my career.
We could have a whole podcast just based on that mindset and that shift and that decision and what that means, because it's easy to quit hard things. I quit polo my junior year because I was just done. I wasn't that good. I didn't have a trajectory, but yeah, there's a lot of dialogue there. But yeah. I mean, the tenacity to stay, you said earlier, you said grit, like the grit from most likely watching, you know, or what you learned about your dad and your uncle and their path to the Olympics. Super rad. During those 4 years, did you have an opportunity to surf competitively at all?
I did. I also so I always had to kind of hide my surfing career in a way. Like, Coach Jovan was gnarly. Like, you didn't want him to know you were surfing. And then even in my national team career a little bit, like some teammates frowned upon it because they just wanted you to be committed and focused. So even then, USC competed in NSSA. They have this awesome college, which NSSA is great. It's the National Scholastic Surfing Association, and it's what you compete as an amateur. And then there's, states and nationals. And they started this college program, a while back, and USC competes. So that always just happened to be in the fall. And water polo season ended up being in the spring. So I was able to compete in that. And then I would do QSs on my off time, qualifying series events on the off time, like made the finals in a pro junior at the US Open. Like I would still compete here and there, obviously not to the extent that I wanted to. But looking back on it, I still had some great results and a lot of fun still surfing. And I was a person that would, we had double days in college. You go 6 to 7 in the dungeon, the pool I was talking about, and then school. And then you go, usually practice started at 2 or 3, depending on weights or not, till 7 or 8. And I purposely made my schedule, because athletes get priority, Tuesdays and Thursdays my entire college. Just jam-packed it. I mean, there were long days, and every once in a while you had to have a discussion, so that'd be Wednesday. So essentially Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I didn't have class. So I would go to dungeon practice, swim, get in my car, sit in 30, 40 minutes of traffic to go surf El Porto, which, not hating on El Porto, but it's tough. And come back, take a nap, and then go to afternoon practice. But I had to do it kind of secretly. Like, I didn't want too many people to know about it.
I love all this underlying, like, you had to be super devious to get it done, but still competing on the world stage and having success. Like, I'm guessing everybody you were competing with on the QS they're surfing hours and hours every day. And you're like, this is my side hustle. And yet you're still able to keep your mojo up.
Yeah, I mean, I think like nowadays you can't get away with it. You see what the women surfing are doing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. But I just think the level wasn't as high as it is now, and I could get away with it a little bit just from talent and luck. And obviously, like water polo is a little bit of, cross-training for surfing too. Like it's not like I was just sitting and getting out of shape. Obviously, I had strength and conditioning and all that through water polo. So I just tried to surf as much as I could, even if it was like catch 3 waves in El Porto. Putting on a wet, stinky wetsuit after chlorine-filled skin is like the worst thing ever. Yeah. But I just loved it that much, and I was willing to do it.
Grinder. What years were you in college?
2010 through 14.
What was your best year competitively in college?
Water polo we won a national championship my junior year, so 2013.
And that was, so NCAA that's the pinnacle of it.
Yes, and I kind of joke in college, I got every place from freshman year, 4th, sophomore year, 2nd, junior year, 1st, senior year, 3rd. So I got 1 through 4 in college.
When you won in 2013, who did you guys play against? We
played against Stanford, which is a rival. They're an amazing program, probably have won the most national championships for women's water polo. But people would argue that was the best team ever assembled. So you're coming off of a 2012 Olympic gold medal, and you have Maggie Steffens, who just won the MVP, Mel Seidemann, who's the best defender ever. She's a beast. Kylie Neuschel, who's an amazing player and like just has so much finesse and brain in her game. And then you have these supporting cast that could have been Olympians if they chose, but they were studs and were part of that national team pipeline. And then here you come, USC, like we were the underdogs, no one ever thought it, but we recruited some people. We got some Australians, we got, a Spaniard, and they became Olympians, and they're amazing in their own right. A Hungarian goalie, like we put this hodgepodge together.
Just the banger team,
yes,
the ringers?
Yes, and, we just came together and only lost 1 game that year, which was to Stanford at home. But every other time we played Stanford, usually play them in tournaments and whatnot, we beat them probably 4 other times. And that national championship game goes, to this date, the longest ever played. So we went not only into the 2 overtime periods. So now on the national team level, there's shootouts, which unfortunately that's what we felt in our semis versus Australia. But in college, you still play overtime. So there's 2 3-minute overtime periods, still tied after that.
Wow.
Then we go not 1, not 2, but 3 sudden death periods. And then Ani Esbar, who's one of the best players in the entire world, just bar in, sickest shot ever, and we go wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. Wow. I mean, I just love that history. I mean, that must have been an absolute banger. Holy schmoly. And that's 2013. How did you do in the surf world in 2013?
2013, I guess 2013, so that was May. We also finished school up in May. But nationals isn't till June for NSSA. So I go to nationals. It's at Salt Creek for, usually it's at Lowers, Huntington, or Salt Creek. And I ended up winning. Like it was just super fun. Lefts off of Salt Creek, just waves coming to me. I got super high scores, I think an 8 or a 7, and ended up winning NSSA collegiate title for USC. But I didn't think much of it, just because I think my mindset was like, the WQS is, the standard. The WCT is the standard. So it took me a while until other people brought it up, like, dude, you just won 2 national championships for your school. And I was like, yeah, but, it's not where I want to be. But yeah, 1 month apart, I got 2 national championships.
Incredible. That's so rad. I saw that and I was like, again, if anybody was interested, you go to Kaleigh's website and there's a page there that has all your polo and all your surf year by year. And you're like, they're all golds. Like the number of, it's just really incredible.
Thank you.
Okay. So you have this banger collegiate career, both in surf and especially in polo. You talked earlier about national team. I think this takes us to the Olympics. Is that where we're going now?
Pretty much. So that 2013 summer, I got invited late. My coach actually shared the story. I knew this story, but he shared it to a group of people not that long ago. And I wasn't on the list to get invited. So obviously you're stepping into a new quad. So quads every 4 years. 2012, they just won gold, and they had a lot of vets and returners retire because they finally got their gold, and they were missing it by, second, third place through the entire Olympics. So there was going to be a lot of turnover. So usually the first year you invite tons of people, and 40, 50 people to the first camp. And I wasn't even on that list. I wasn't even top 40, in the nation. But coach watched our conference tournament, MPSF. It was up at Cal, and he still remembers I made a pass. And that pass kind of opened his eyes like, whoa, okay, maybe we should throw her on the list. So I got the last second call up. I go to training. It's really intimidating. I don't really know these people. They probably hate me because I just beat them in, NC2As. But and I didn't follow the national team. It's almost embarrassing to say I didn't know who these people were. Wow. I didn't watch the Olympics ever.
Really?
Of water polo. I didn't watch any 2012 Olympic game. And so
why? It seemed were you just?
I didn't care. I was a surfer. I cared about watching CT. I like the Olympics. We watched it as a family. Opening ceremonies, swimming would always be on because my dad would geek out over that. But I wasn't seeing. A priority. No, and so I think that helps me because I wasn't necessarily starstruck when I walked on the deck, but I also was just like, this isn't for me. I don't know these people. I didn't give them enough credit. They're all amazing humans. And I had a good showing, and I kind of had a feeling I was going to make this travel squad to China. And I just was sitting in the car. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to do this. And I already booked 2 QS contests. I think one was in Peru and one was somewhere else. So I sent Adam an email. I was like, look, I wanted to tell you this beforehand so my teammates think I just didn't make the team. And so, because I know maybe down the road, this is something I want to do. He's like, okay, come talk to me before practice. And he was I'm so fortunate for him as a coach because there's so many coaches that'd be like, you're not committed, you're done. You're never getting invited back. Kind of explained my situation. He's like, well, you were on that team. I was like, I kind of had a feeling, but I just don't think this is for me right now. I need to be fully committed. It's hard for me to commit, but once I do, it's on. And the team they got, I believe, 5th at Worlds. It was kind of a tough summer, and I got the invite back in fall. And as soon as I got that invite back of fall, it was my senior year, 2014. It was that was the moment I'm going to become a gold medalist, or I'm going to try to make this Olympic team. And the dream is
something
to become
flipped.
A gold medalist. Yeah. Because it was probably the lackluster results of the surf tour. But yeah, that was kind of the moment where I realigned my goals and my dreams.
And you made it.
And I made it.
Okay. I'm sure there's so much storytelling between then, but I think that takes us to your first Olympics.
Yes.
Talk about first Olympics, and we know, I'm not going to give it away.
Well, it's just crazy. You go to this next level and you just realize oh my gosh, I have so much to work on. And I've always been a grinder. I always like to do stuff behind the scenes. And, I rarely even share these stories because I'm it's in the back of my mind. I did it because of these things. So I realized swimming, I stink at swimming. And we have this test at 10 200s. And there was
10 200s?
10 200s. So 10 8-lappers as fast as you can go, you get 10 seconds rest in between. And then you
So
try to get
it's
an
a
average.
one piece.
Yeah.
2,000 yard one piece.
Essentially. And we did it a lot. This would have been 2015 early, like January. We did it a lot. There was a handful of us that were here. Others were in college or abroad. So there wasn't much to do. Like we were shooting on a sniper. There was no goalie. So Adam's just like sick of us. He's like, we're just going to swim 10 200s. We did it like, every other week. My times wouldn't get better. The slowest person, my times wouldn't get better. I was like, something's wrong. Like, what is it? So this goes back to how amazing this community is. Aaron Pearsall, one of the best swimmers of all time, lives here, is from here, and he was living here at the time, and he was coaching at Newport Harbor High School. So I reach out to him as a 25-year-old, 4-year-old. No, I was probably 22 or 23. I was like, hey, Aaron, this is Kaleigh. Like, explained who I was. Like, can I get swim lessons from you? So I've already been on this team for a while. I have had success in the sport, and I just had the humility and the desire to get better, where I'm hitting up Aaron Pearsall and going back to the roots. Like, he's teaching me Wednesdays after practice. I'd be going to double days, and he would be hopping in the pool at Newport Harbor and teaching me stroke techniques. And I think that is just a story that is a perfect example of my career. Like, never the best, never that, but worked the hardest, or even sometimes, and sometimes not, the smartest.
Did that make a big difference?
Yeah. And so I remember emailing him, and I dropped, by the end of it, my PR was 15 seconds, which is unheard of, faster overall of every 200. And then we kind of had this little mentorship.
Hold on, 15 seconds off every 200?
Yeah. So my worst was like 2 minutes, 25 seconds, which is very slow on the national team. And my PR was 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And I remember sharing that, and then he just became a little bit of a mentor and a friend, and we would just chit chat back and forth on email, and he'd root the team on. So it was just being creative, having the desire to get better and wanting to, but then being creative and figuring out a way. Like, sure, if I showed up at the pool every day, I'd probably get faster. I know I would have gotten faster, but there's still time, even though we're exhausted, there is time to put in and try to get yourself better in a creative and fun way as well. And I think I did that throughout my entire career.
I think that tells a big story right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I made it. 2016, we made it. And then Rio was a dream come true.
Why?
So many friends and family went, and we dominated. Like, I can say that now because I think the stat, then we played 6 games. There was only 8 teams. So the qualification process was very hard. It was a one shot because Brazil took our North America seed. So we went to last chance qualifiers in March of 2016. We blew everyone out there. And that was just like, you had to win the quarters to go to the Olympics. We win the quarters, and we beat France 19-0.
I think Maddie talked about it was
crazy.
The best team assembled.
Yes.
Dominated, right?
Yeah. And then so we went there, had an amazing time celebrating, but we're like, job's not finished. We got to go to Rio. And I think the stat is that we were only down for 31 seconds of the entire Olympic Games. And that's just because Hungary scored first one game. Wow. So, and then, it's your first. There's just something about the first. There wasn't Tokyo COVID crap. Like, people were, your family and friends were in the stands. You get to be on the podium, listen to your national anthem with a gold medal around your neck. Like, that's what you dream about. That's what you go to sleep at night. That's why you wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. to go to training. That's why you hit up Aaron Pearsall to go swim at the Bay Club or swim at Newport Harbor and learn new strokes. Like, that's why you do it. So it was just one of the most special moments of my entire life.
That's so rad.
Yeah.
I have a million questions. I'm only going to ask you one. How did you feel the next day? You woke up thinking about all the years and all the sacrifice and all the grinding and everything you did, and you wake up and you're like, okay, did it. Now what?
I think I always said I was too happy to be hungover because I should have probably woken up hungover. But it was just such an exhilarating moment.
Did you guys go big that night?
Oh, yeah. Like, how could you not?
It
was so fun. And there was a handful of us that had to wake up to go do a sports center interview at 7 a.m. But it was like, yeah, let's go. I'm a gold medalist. I don't get hungover. I can do whatever I want. But it was really fun. But it doesn't hit you until after. There's I would always say, at least when you win gold, everyone here, you come back home. You're having a lot of fun with your teammates in Rio. Then you come back home, and then you're having a lot of fun with your friends here. But then, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month later, the hype wears down. Not people don't care. There's always still people congratulating you, but life moves on, and that's just the reality. Yeah. So there is a total Olympic come down. And I really struggled with it that 2016 year because I thought I was done. And I was like, it's time to go surf.
Oh, you thought initially that you were one and done.
I never officially retired, but that was it. Like it's time to surf. I've been putting on the back burner for so long. So I really struggled with, the hype and the like everyone cares and cheering you on, and then it just goes quiet, and you have to figure out like what's next. And for me, it was the QS, which was very fun, but at the same time, I was trying too hard to make something happen that takes a lot of time. Because I gave myself about a year to decide if it was surfing 100% or if I'm going back to water polo.
Well, I know you went back because we know some of the outcomes, which we'll talk about. I'm probably jumping a ton, but you had a big year in 2019 in the lead up to the 2020 Olympics,
yes.
Right? What happened in 2019?
2019 was probably the biggest, eye-opening moment of my life. 2019, I trained really hard. The team was stacked. So essentially what I told you, it's almost the entire Rio team came back plus newbies. And I was like, this is going to be hard to make. So I trained really hard, came into great shape summer of 2019. And world champs, we win. We beat Spain, who's a longtime rival. Killer game. We all played amazing. And we go out and celebrate. And it's kind of like
Where were you?
We were in South Korea. And it's kind of like a notorious thing to celebrate after these tournaments, win or lose. You're for 3 weeks, you're stuck and you're pent up and just stress and competitiveness. So the entire community celebrates, not just your team, but all of the water polo community. And we were at World Aquatics, so there were some swimmers and divers there as well. And we go and we celebrate. We're having the time of our life. Like, it is so fun. Some of my team starts leaving, and we fly out the next morning. And that's when, I was up on top of a deck, which we found later on that was illegally built, and it collapses. So we're inside this club. We're on top of a balcony that collapses, and I'm on top of it. So I drop 12 feet down, along with other teammates and other water polo community. And
how many people were on it when it collapsed?
50, 60 people probably. God. Yeah. And we found out, like I said, illegally built and over capacity. And mind you, we're big water polo men and women dancing, having the time of our lives. Yeah. And I think, obviously it's very blurry, but I think I got pinned down by part of the rubble. And I was a part of a human dog pile on top of me. Like, I'm pushing teammates off. I'm stuck trying to wiggle my leg, kind of trying to figure out what just happened. Like, I remember falling and it seeming to take forever. And then it gets really blurry. I got helped out to the sidewalk by some of the men's teams, carry me out. I'm bleeding, and I don't look at my leg once because I knew it was bad. I would always just look up. And this is when I'm on the sidewalk of South Korea before the ambulance gets there. The entire community is helping, whether there's people stuck in there, so they're helping there. Like, the community kind of came together that night or sticking with me, and I'm fading in out of consciousness at that point. Like, I'm like, remember seeing like kind of white, bright lights, like feeling like I'm going to faint. Paramedics gets there. Before that, the men's trainer got there and he tourniquet my leg. And the same Australian that was on our USC national championship team was there, who's one of the strongest people I know. And Chris Bates, who's the men's trainer, looks at Hannah, hold this as tight as you can. I just remember, I'm in good hands. Hannah's the strongest woman I know. Like, she's going to hold this tourniquet tight. And made it to the hospital, and obviously there was a lot of tests they had to run. There was alcohol and food in my system, so we couldn't go to emergency surgery. It's just chaos, and no one really knows what's true. People are trying to reach people, like, back home, coaches, trainers. So that time in the hospital was really scary, but they were able to, I was okay for the most part, and they wanted x-ray, they wanted to see what was going on. Eventually, the plan was made that the team was going to go home. A couple of people, the trainer and doctor, were going to stay back with me. I was going to go into surgery 9:30 the next day. Wake up to like chaos. Mind you, I'm in South Korea. They don't speak English, and they're pulling stuff away from me. Like, it's time to go, surgery, surgery, surgery. Like, what's going on? Where is everybody? Immediately go into a surgery room, and without knowing what was really happening, there's so much that happened from like literally that moment to the surgery that like it was very intense trauma that I was still deal with. Just like a moment in the elevator, going in without my doctor and him popping up last second. It was like, I'm in here, Kaleigh. Like, that was the last thing I remembered before going under. Then I wake up, and what we were really worried about was nerve damage. because we knew there was no broken bones. They knew like I was going to be okay at that point, but they didn't know how close it was to the nerve.
Where on your leg?
It's over my left like shin area, calf area. So they were worried about the perineal nerve. And I wake up and I remember the first thing I said, is my nerve okay? To my trainer, Larnie. She's like, missed it by millimeters. Oof. And that was one, there's multiple moments throughout this entire journey, which was just like sigh of relief, but that was one of them. And then, you know, the question's like, okay, I'm not gonna die. I have a functioning foot. The athlete mindset immediately goes to, well, the Olympics at that point were a year away. Like, I need to get to the Olympics. When my mind should have been rest, heal, recover, like we'll worry about that when we need to. I immediately asked the doctor, and you know, who's broken English. It's like, well, when can I play water polo? What's next? All I said is, run 3 to 4 months. Like running 3 to 4 months. Kept on repeating that. I was like, I don't have 3 or 4 months. Like, I need to start practicing now. And I just dove into my recovery. And I'm really proud how I did it, but it definitely pushed away some of the mental aspect until my body didn't let me push it away anymore. And I mean, the whole chapter, we call it the Mamba mission because our trainer knows how much I adored Kobe Bryant, and I actually knew him at that time. And then during the South Korea, when we were going to the airport, we followed each other on social media. I reach out to him. And he gets back to me immediately. Yo, I saw your name on the news. I swear I was going to reach out. I'm going to keep checking in on you. Then literally the next day, how are you doing? You make it home? Like, Kobe Bryant's checking in on me. Like, no way. If you told my little 8-year-old self that was obsessed with water polo or with basketball in the Olympics, like, I'd be tripping. And he continued to, and he gave me some of his contacts and almost became a little bit of a mentor. And this idea of the Mamba mission that our trainer, Larnie Bokarian, named it, just took on a life of its own. And obviously, even more so when you passed that January too. So I'm just very fortunate I had those, you know, interactions with him that I know a lot of other people didn't have. Obviously, it rocked the world when he passed, but it was a part of my South Korea Mamba mission, and we just continued it all the way on till the Tokyo Games.
Rad. What a crazy story. I remember that from the news long before I'd ever met you. But
right.
It was big, super newsworthy, super gnarly.
Yeah, it was crazy. And, you know, going back to how I asked Aaron to swim, that's kind of the idea and mindset Larnie and I took into recovery. We worked really intense, long hours, but we made it fun. We got tap dancing. Kobe tap danced to a recovery that he had to strengthen his ankle back in like 2000. So I was like, let's tap dance. Let's do synchronized swimming. Let's pick up marbles with our toes and make it fun. Like, we try to be creative while also intentional in our work. And our goal was to somehow play in these games in December. So that happened July 27th. I wanted to play in games in December. Somehow was able to do that. And was I playing great water polo? No. Like, I was out of shape, but I was playing water polo, you know, 4 or 5 months after the accident. And that's something that, again, I almost wish I appreciated more in that moment, but it wasn't good enough at that time because I wanted to make the Olympic team and we wanted to win gold. So it's an interesting athlete mindset that we have, that sometimes I'm like, I should have slowed down a little bit more and appreciated everything that I was doing and overcoming during that time.
Wow. Yeah. Incredible opportunity to work with one of your heroes, with Kobe. I mean, everybody's hero. Just really incredible story, and the comeback. So this is about when COVID's coming on too.
Yeah.
And the Olympics were pushed back by a full year or close?
Yeah, 1 year exactly.
Did that give you a benefit because of your recovery on your leg, or was it unnecessary by the time?
No, I actually don't know if I would have made the Tokyo team. I wasn't playing great water polo. You could tell, like, I was holding on to stuff, and I think, you know, right before COVID happened, I had my first 2 panic attacks that I've never dealt with. I fainted in my coach's arms when we were in Colorado Springs at a training camp. And I think it's because a lot of what happened with Kobe reminded me of what happened in South Korea, and then all of these emotions that I was just pushing down. There were signs, like when I got into an elevator, I really didn't like it, like claustrophobic signs because I got pinned down. Surfing big waves even started rattling more than ever. So I knew there were signs, and I was very aware of it. I was like, I'll talk to somebody when I'm ready. And of course, my body's like, you're going to be ready now because we're freaking out. Yeah. So I don't think if COVID didn't happen, I wouldn't have had the proper time to dive into my mental health because we would have been training 6 hours a day. So I took a little bit of that, the training and the commitment and all of the grit into my rehab during COVID, into my therapy during COVID. So I was seeing 3 separate therapists 3 times a week. I'd have to do exposure therapy, sit in the Lido. I went to the Lido parking garage because it's kind of a janky elevator. Go up and down, sit there,
Really?
45 minutes a day, up and down, up and down. Like first with my dog and my therapist on the phone, and then eventually leaving both at home and doing it without that, just to, you have to put yourselves in these scary situations so you don't avoid them, or else your body's going to continue to have that panic and that feeling. So there's different types of exposure therapy, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, EDMR. Like I just dove so deep into it. And I think that time with COVID allowed me to. And honestly, when we came back, eventually it was like early June with the team, I was a completely different person.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I still deal with it every day. Like there's still moments.
Full PTSD?
Yeah. I was diagnosed with panic disorder and PTSD, but some days are better than others, but I know that I'll probably have to deal with it my whole life, but I have the tools now and the confidence in being able to deal with it.
Amazing. I think 2 things. One, this is one of those things that comes up on this podcast. It's always super interesting and surprising. It's like, what do we find that nobody knew? I bet so many people had no idea that you've had to deal with all of this as a result of that incident because of the accolades of everything you've accomplished since, yet you've had to manage and navigate this. And the other is from a public service announcement standpoint. Like we have a lot of lifeguards, first responders. A lot of your friends are in the lifeguard work. The Ben Carlson Foundation, there's so much open water and our first responders and vets. So many people deal with this, and it's so often kind of pushed aside or pushed down. And the fact that you attacked it and used all the tools and resources available to you, and that you said it, I've come so far, but I'll probably always need to continue to work through it. I think is so important for people to hear that may be struggling with it based on whatever things are impacting their lives.
Totally. And I was a little bit like, I was fortunate. I never had anxiety growing up. I never, even on my team, I see some of my teammates and I feel for, I used to not feel for them. I was like, gosh, they're so annoying. They're 20 minutes early all the time. This is exhausting. But now it's because of what I went through, I'm a little bit more empathetic too. I was like, I feel for them now because I have felt maybe not those same feelings, but similar feelings in different aspects too. So I think it's kind of allowed me to become a little bit more open, vulnerable, and empathetic human as well. So it was a journey for sure.
Holy moly. And yet, 2020, how'd you do?
We ended up winning. And Tokyo was it was probably the best tournament of my career too. But it was even more special. Obviously, we couldn't have friends and family down there, which was a real big bummer. But at the same time, we were just so happy that it happened. But my dad
couldn't have friends or family because it was
COVID, so no fans were allowed to go.
Yeah, that's right.
And obviously there were strict protocols down there, and it kind of divided the team a little bit, which was tough. So I think we were hanging on by a thread by the end of that, just because of remember that time it was just all over the place. Sure. There's people had different beliefs and different views, and you had to still bring the team together, but we were training full time, not just for 1 year full time training is hard enough, let alone 2.5, I would argue. So it was really tough within the team, but we were just still such studs, and there was so much talent on the team that we were able to pull it off. But we actually lost a group play game to Hungary. And we kind of had a kumbaya moment after that game, and people were expressing their thoughts and their feelings, and everyone opened up a little bit and realized I'm not the only one feeling this way. And we came together. We had a tough semis that we got through versus Russia, and then lo and behold, we're playing Spain, and we dominated them. Wow. Yeah, I think we beat them 15-6 or something crazy. But Tokyo was really special for me on, a personal level, because that was where my dad swam for the first time. It was 1964 Tokyo Olympics. And I got to play water polo in 2020-21 Tokyo Olympics. So that was a pretty cool full circle moment.
That's so rad. Congratulations.
Thank
2
you.
golds and a lot of things in between. And yet you still didn't go back to the QS or the CT. You decided to play a third Olympics.
I did. I was still doing some contests just in case to keep my rating up with the way the QS and CT work. So I was still doing contests here and there. But so remember that Tokyo finished at 2021. So the Olympics were only 3 years away. It wasn't a full 4-year quad. And I thought I was done again. I played, dropped the mic, played the best game. We dominated, like got the gold medal. I should be done. And I go to our exit interview with our coach, who I have a great relationship, really appreciate Adam. And we just chit chat, just reminisce on everything. And, you know, when the conversation was over, it was like 4 hours later at Alta Coffee. I was like, okay, this is it. Like, he's going to be like, Kaleigh, you're one of my favorites. Like, thanks so much. Your career was amazing. Like, best of luck and whatever's next. Instead, he goes, so, you know, you can still keep playing water polo. I was like, that's not what I wanted to hear. Like, I wanted it to be over, or an easy way out, because in the back of my mind, I think I knew I could continue to play water polo. He's like, I'll give you till December, figure it out. I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But it was pretty quick, you know, within a day or two, like, I was like, it's on. Like, I do love this. Let's go. So I give him a call up in December, and I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go for it. Paris, here we come. And that summer was world champs in 2022. We lost a lot of people, retired, studs that could have kept playing, but I just think they were burnt. Tokyo really burnt people out.
You know that Adam had the same conversations with them.
Yeah, totally.
And they're like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah. And, you know, and they were better players than I was, that's for sure. So, you know, there's a question like, how are we going to be? Like, you know, this is going to be probably our hardest quad yet. 2022, we win world champs. Like, killer game. Maddie scores, you know, I draw a 5-meter. Maddie takes the 5-meter with like 40 seconds left against Hungary, in Hungary, sold out crowd, you know, 15,000 people, maybe not that much, 7,000 people in the crowd. And we win. And I was like, yeah, this is why I came back. Like, this is sick. And I had some aches and pains after South Korea, and I just thought it was kind of natural of like what I did and the years of sport I've played, like maybe not necessarily from that incident, but my trainer is like, you know, let's go get an MRI. You should get an MRI. Let's just see. We have some downtime. I was like, yeah, whatever, Larnie. Sure, I'll do it for you. Mind you, I hate MRIs because it's a small space and just brings me back to South Korea. But we go to an MRI, and it comes back, and I have injuries in my left shoulder and my left hip. And I didn't know what that really meant yet. I was like, okay, well, it's not that bad, right? Just give me a shot or something. Like, it'll be fine. We go out to the Stedman Clinic in Vail, Colorado, top-notch, you know, facility and doctors. And I met with both a shoulder surgeon and a hip surgeon. And they both came up separately. It was like, all right, so when do you want to schedule surgery?
Oh, shoot.
I was like, surgery?
What?
Like, what? I'm 30 years old, and you want me to get back-to-back surgery? The Olympics are in 2 years. And, you know, it was just me and Tom there at the time, and I'm calling Larnie. I'm like, what do I do? You know, obviously a lot of these, you know, facilities like to cut. You know, they're amazing. They like to do what they do. And so I'm like, maybe they're just pushing that. They want to get in and fix it. Like, I think I could do it without. Within that night, me being me, I make a decision, and it's game on. I emailed the entire staff and was like, all right, got my surgery date scheduled, you know, hip first, shoulder 6 weeks later, it's on. And Larnie, who named the Mamba mission, we named this Mount Everest. And because Kobe discussed about his Achilles injury being his Mount Everest. Obviously, similarities later on in our career, the last little, you know, career, are we going to come back? Are we going to be the same player? Obviously, I'm not comparing myself to Kobe Bryant. He is, you know, the best by far, you know, athlete and mindset, and has done crazy things. But I like to like, okay, well, maybe this will be my Mount Everest, and just use it as motivation. So that training and rehab and recovery, and I was just exhausted because I just did it with South Korea. But I'm like, okay, like, we have a goal. And I think the injuries, I think I played great water polo by the time Paris rolled around, but I think the injuries kind of made me not be the leader that I wanted to be, because I'm an aware person. Like, I can't be yelling at a newbie for swimming or playing or doing something wrong and like holding them accountable when I'm sitting out because I'm injured.
Were you team captain?
I was not. Maggie Steffens is team captain. But there was like 5 returners, which were like the core leaders. And I think I could have probably led that team a little bit better. And I think injuries got in the way, and maybe I leaned a little bit more of them as a crutch. I mean, this is after a lot of reflection after Paris. So, but I think, you know, I still ended up getting back, making a team. And if you asked anybody in the water polo community if Kaleigh Gilchrist was going to 3 Olympics, they would have laughed in your face, and I was able to do it. So I'm obviously proud of that. And Paris and that entire quad was probably the most fun and most enjoyable. We did it a little bit different, I think because of what happened in Tokyo. But at the same time, it was fun until it wasn't. which was losing in a shootout after a 3-goal lead to Australia in the semifinals of the Paris Olympics.
Yeah, and that was the difference between medaling and not medaling, right?
That was to go into the bronze medal game. So that was to go to the gold medal game. We play Holland in the bronze medal game, and I bet most people would have put their money that it was going to be Holland and us in the gold medal game. And we were dominating. I think we were up maybe 4 goals at that time. We lost on a last-second shot to lose the bronze medal.
Wow.
Yeah. So that stat, which is crazy, the last 2 games of water polo that we played, we were never losing until that last second. So we were tied or winning the entire water polo games. And, you know, obviously that just takes you into a spiral. I mean, that loss was the biggest hurt of my entire sports career, and like took me, like to this day I still hurt and I think about it daily. But that just rocked me into this depression, knowing that I was going into retirement too. So I was the only one, and still to this day I'm the only one that have announced my retirement from that team. And I knew it going into the Paris Olympics. Like, I decided in my head, like, my goals after this were to marry Tom and start a family and be present here and in the community and stuff. So I think that's why it rocked me on another level too. It was like, that was it. That's my water polo career. It's going to end like that. Like, I only dreamt of gold medals and, you know, going out on top, which so many people don't have the opportunity to do.
So that's what your dad and your uncle are going to hold over you, huh?
Yeah.
That 4th place?
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, incredible storytelling, Kaleigh. What an incredible, again, 4th in the world.
I know.
After 2 golds and injuries and COVID and everything else. Really, just amazing what you've accomplished while still competing at the highest level of serve. Just
Thank you.
Super, super duper rad. Listen, I could go all day because I love all this dialogue. Let's jump past. So you retire.
I retire.
How's that feel?
Oh, it sucks. It took me, I think I was ready for retirement if we won. I think you're only ready so, actually, let me take that back. I think you're only ready so much, but I think I was as prepared as I could have been for retirement, assuming we were going to get a gold medal. And obviously you can never assume. I still think we were the favorites, but we all knew it was going to be our biggest task to win that gold medal. But I still think the talent was there, and it just didn't come together. We didn't peak at the right time for whatever reason. There was a lot of outside factors that were going on. You know, I don't think, you know, maybe coaching, maybe, you know, individual play, it was not as good as it could have been. So with that 4th place, I think that took my retirement to a whole nother level that I didn't prepare for in my head. And, you know, as athletes, you're supposed to prepare for every moment, every situation, but I'm not preparing for 4th place in the Olympics. I'm preparing for a gold medal and going on this dream tour, retirement tour, having fun, getting married, going on a honeymoon. Like, that was the dream. And why wouldn't it have been that way? That's how it's always been. So I think there was at first so much anger as soon as we lost the semifinals. And some people are probably going to get annoyed with saying this, but I went to Paris and the team went to Paris to win gold. Like, I don't know if I would have felt any difference with a bronze medal around my neck. I might have been even more mad because you have to sit on the podium and watch Australia and Spain get their medals after you. And I hate to say that because obviously there's these first-time Olympians that would have died to have an Olympic medal, or that so much of our society applauds medalists, bronze medalists included. You know, you just see the difference of how they're pushed in the media versus a 4th place. But to me, I don't know if bronze or 4th made any difference. So I could have another medal sitting in my sock drawer that I never look at. So I think there was just so much anger, and it happened as soon as we lost that semifinal game. And at first, I think what truly was below the anger was sadness, but I didn't want to deal with that yet. So the blame game is easy. So there's a lot of blame for a couple months. Coach, you know, star players, this, why did they do this? The younger girls weren't ready. How did they miss their X2 block on the 5-on? You know, like, I'll go into the X's and O's. I'm a player that knows everything. I had to rewatch the games to make sure I wasn't crazy. And then you realize at some point you have some awareness. You look at yourself in the mirror and you go, okay, but what could I have done better? How could I have been a better player, teammate, leader, you know, to help us win? And, you know, the reality is, do those answers matter? Because I'm never playing water polo again. Do the X's and O's matter? Well, I think it does because it'll teach me other things in life. Maybe, my patience wasn't there, my communication skills weren't there, maybe my work ethic slipped a little bit. And those are things that I'll take forward to in motherhood and in my next chapter. But that didn't come for months. But I knew at some point I'd have to deal with the anger that was actually sadness and then take some accountability. And once I did that, it helped heal a little bit. There's still, moments and plays and.
Will you ever get over it?
No, there's no way.
I can feel it.
There's no way. And I see some and it's so bad because you just see from, how some teammates deal and you don't know if that's actually how truly they're feeling. I'm like, how are you guys over it? I will never get over that. But luckily for them, they got to continue to play.
They can come back and redeem it.
Yeah.
And you have to go to therapy.
Yep. Did a lot of that already last fall. But anyway, so I think that just rocked my entire idea of retirement. Wow. And then you're also saying goodbye to yourself, or a part of you, that's this water polo player that's been the water polo player for the 24 years. And as much as I don't want to say my identity was sport, but it's so intertwined for so many reasons. And they gave me so much purpose and desire that I needed to find another thing. And thank gosh for Tom. And we decided to get married after the Olympics. So we were engaged for a while. We, were dating for a while. We knew our goals and dreams as a couple and to begin a family. So that's kind of where my energy and mindset has been going. But it took a long time to get there.
Yeah, sounds like it. Well, again, I think that just reinforces the mindset that you have, right? Like you said it 18 different ways. We didn't go there. We went there to win, and I planned my whole rest of my life based on that win. I never saw it any other way. But I think that's right. That's the Mamba mentality.
Totally.
Right. And that's the pain that you feel is based on the strengths that you have that got you where you are with 2 golds and
exactly
a zillion other wins under your belt.
Yeah.
I was saying here, I'm like, most of us have no wins.
I know. And that's we're talking about a bronze medal in the Olympic Games versus a gold medal. Are you kidding? I know people, and I think I have that perspective and awareness as well. But unless you're in it as an elite athlete who's dreamt of gold, it's hard to relate to. But yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure. And it's, time heals all wounds. So hopefully more time passes and this will be, more of a lesson learner than a heartbreak. But
so let's take this into the next steps. So you're pregnant, you're retired, you're pregnant, you're surfing, most likely 30 days in a row at 6 months, which is amazing. How do you take all of the learnings, all of your experiences of 24 years of intense training at the highest levels, all kinds of competitive nature, it runs through your blood, we can all hear it. How do you channel that over the next 10, 20, 24 years?
Well, at first, I kind of mentioned this early on. I almost had to rewire my brain, and I'm still working on it. The traits that got me to where I am today might not necessarily be what I need in the future. I think, obviously, there's so much good, but there's also, some bad with trying to be, an Olympic athlete. It's a pretty selfish time. And a lot of people might not see it that way, but, I miss birthdays. I miss weddings. I miss whatever. I was, a bad friend or sibling or whatever because I was so focused on myself. And the reality is you can't do that in motherhood. You can't do that in, being in a marriage. So I almost had to rewire my brain and slow down and heal. And I think that doing so allowed me to kind of get this energy going again to figure out what is next. I was fortunate I had the time. I mean, you guys, the Olympics was 15 months ago. There's been a lot of time. I didn't have to jump straight into a job, which I'm so fortunate for. And that time has slowly made me realize, okay, what do I want to do? How do I want to focus my energy? Is there still competitive spirit there? Or did that just go away too with water polo in the Olympics? And no, it's still there.
There are some things you can turn off and there are some things that are just ingrained in you. And I don't know how many years it will take. I mean, I've experienced kind of that, you said it early, you always need to have a next goal. Yeah. And you're a goal setting person. You talked about it. You can go back and see them all on spreadsheets or whatever. I always, when I kind of coach or mentor people in just prone paddling, okay, what are you doing after the bend? What are you doing after the Catalina Classic? They're like, what are you talking about? That's all I'm focused on. No.
It's important.
There's a postpartum
for sure
feeling after at the levels that I do. I can't imagine when you put your whole life on hold to go after the Olympics and accomplish it, what that Comedown feels like without additional goals. So how are you channeling it? Because I know you've got some cool things that you do in the world whether it called work or your own coaching and mentoring. What are you doing now to channel your energies?
Yeah, I think before that, the first thing I'll say, even before I met Tom, like people have dreams and aspirations of starting a business or, going in the corporate world after athletics. Like for me, it was always like, I'm going to go to the Olympics. I'm going to go to USC. I'm going to go to the Olympics. I'm going to hopefully win gold medals. And then I'm going to get married and have a kid. Like that has always been my end goal.
You've definitely ticked those boxes.
Thank you. But I think like in saying that, like I am fortunate that I know that's my priority in being a family and building that together with Tom. And I'm fortunate to be in Newport and to do so. And maybe I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and that's okay. And I think that's actually the most awesome job you could have in the entire world. So we'll see.
And the hardest.
Yes, I know. Well, I don't know.
You're going to be like,
I'm going to know.
Olympics wasn't that tough compared to this.
But I think there's always an aspect of me that wants to be a part of sport. And, whether that's mentorship, I do love mentorship. I was talking to Coach Scotty. We actually want to come up with an app and mentor young female athletes. And I'll help, coach them in mindset, goal setting, all that. He'll help coach them in the gym. And we've just been playing around with this idea the past less than a month. So hopefully that'll come. KG Academy will be coming to you in the near future. And then obviously the Snug Harbor Surf Park was a dream come true. Obviously I'm in this was January of 2025. So 10 months ago, kind of like having this quarter life crisis, like what's next? I'm not getting paid by USA Water Polo anymore. I got to figure something out. Get a call from Dana Messenbrink and he's like, hey, come over to the office. We have some ideas with this new wave pool. And they offer me a job right then and there. And, that's just something when you have to believe like timing is right and there's people watching out for you and that everything you've done has gotten you to that place. And obviously we haven't passed, for those that don't know, Snug Harbor Surf Park hopefully will be passed by the time you're listening to this, but we are bringing hopefully a world-class wave to Newport Beach. And I get to be the director of surf operations and just be in charge of all things surf, from mentorship and building out an academy and bringing my expertise as an Olympian to the surf world, and also having fun and doing, camp surf and swing. So surf and play water polo, teach people how to surf, and then just enjoy what I've enjoyed for so many years. So I'm obviously very excited for that opportunity.
Rad. Well, I think many members of the community hope that happens. Let me ask you a question on that. We're going to run out of time in a second. This is the question that people always ask. Why would you, Kaleigh Gilchrist, professional surfer that lives at the beach, why a wave park 2 miles from the sand? Why do that?
Yeah, I mean, people probably won't know too much about this, but there was no waves today. So I took a longboard out just so I could catch 3 waves. That we actually don't have consistent surf here in Newport Beach. I think Surfline says maybe 10 days a year, it's epic. Surfline is our wave forecasting website that we use. So if you only have 10 days a year, that's epic. Can you imagine, A, how crowded those days will be? And B, how do you excel with the lack of consistency? So with a wave pool here, you're getting 365 epic days a year. And just that consistency of training, if I had that during my day and age, I'd be a world champion at this point. So you can practice your maneuvers over and over. You'd be lucky, say you want to try an air. There's maybe one wave that gives you that opportunity, a session. You're surfing for 2 hours for one opportunity in the ocean. Yeah. How are you going to do that? In a wave pool, you can hit the air wave and you can get 15 waves in 1 hour. 1 hour, 20 waves in 1 hour just to practice airs. So I think, if you look back at, water polo and how I got, to where I am today, it was repetition. We've done the same drills for 10 years on the national team. Imagine if you can do 10 years of the same drill in a wave pool.
You mean I might get good at riding the barrel backhand,
which
I've sucked for 30 years at that, or 40 years now.
Yeah, so I think it's just an incredible opportunity, A, for the younger professionals that want to, reach the world championship stage, but also B, just bring surfing to the community at an easier level with, all of the just environment where you can control is going to help you learn to surf. And it's just a community fun thing that we get to do, which we don't have a lot of activities or community events around here that can bring, working out, surfing, sun, family, golf, all of it together in one place.
You had me at 15 waves in an hour.
Yeah. We'll be sore and tired.
Well, I think it's super smart, and who better to fulfill that role if and when this comes through. I think it'll be amazing because I will be there quite a bit. Kaleigh, I love your storytelling, and I'm so grateful that you shared that whole path and everything, and really opening up about the experience post South Korea and your accident and how you came back and all the ties to like the mentality of an athlete at your level and the ties to Kobe Bryant and the Mamba mentality and the Everest mentality or the Everest challenge, and just incredible what you've been able to do, dual sport at the highest level of both while still being super cool, super approachable, super fun. I think we're all excited to see what you do next. I think we look forward to KG Academy. We look forward to Snug Harbor Surf Park. And there is no doubt in anybody's mind that you're not going to be just the raddest mom. I know that in very short order, you're going to be out surfing with your little one and making really fun social media posts all about it while Tom's on the beach, doing whatever he's doing. So just thanks for being rad. Thank you for being like the perfect example of why I have a podcast to share stories like this. So
thank you for having me. It's an honor. And it's, what you're doing in the community and what you do to raise money and help everybody that you can and host this podcast and have like-minded people having conversations. It's really inspiring as well. So you owe yourself some kudos.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Kaleigh, if people want to find you, how do they best find you?
I think I do have a website, www.kaleighgilchrist.com, which probably needs to be updated. And then Instagram is the best. So my Instagram handle is @Kaleigh Gilchrist.
And it's classic. You got to watch. She's very entertaining with the family, and Tom is the butt of all the fun jokes. So Kaleigh Gilchrist, thank you so much for being a rock star and for being here on the Passion Project.
Thank you. Stoked to be here.
You.